Hi everyone, this is Jessica, WCR, with another webinar. We have John Lee here, who's going to talk a little bit about pure washing systems and answer some questions. So let's get started. The first question is, how long do filters last?
Okay, Jessica. Different systems use different filters, whether it's a 3-stage, 4-stage, or 5-stage. So let's talk about the pre-filters and how long the filters last. Pre-filters have different ratings. You can find those ratings usually on the package. There are different size pre-filters. Pre-filters consist of carbon sediment, which is 2-in-1. They also consist of just a carbon filter, and they also consist of a sediment filter. Some systems use separate sediment and carbon. Some use carbon sediment in one. But the ratings and the amount of gallons usually will be written on the packaging. There are 10-inch, which is the most common pre-filters. Most of the systems use that. There are some systems out there that use large carbon filters. As a matter of fact, I know of one that's good for 60,000 gallons. That's carbon sediment pre-filters. The next filter we'll talk about is a reverse osmosis membrane. Just like other filters, there are different types of membranes and different sizes. There are 10-inch. A lot of your home under-the-counter sinks will have a home system, will have like a 10-inch RO membrane. There are 21-inch membranes, and there are 40-inch membranes. The most common is the 4x40, as it's known, which means 4 inches in diameter and 40 inches in length. That's your largest. That usually has a lifespan of 2 to 3 years, and a lot of that depends upon your maintenance, how much time you can get out of the filter, as well as it also has a lot to do with what's in your water. So that's the RO filter and how long it lasts. The third we'll talk about is the polishing filter or the deionization filter. Those also come in different sizes. Like we said, the under the sink systems have 10-inch. Small ones, there are 20-inch, 21-inch. You can also buy the DI resin tanks. They come in 1/2 cubic foot size. They also come in 1 cubic foot size tanks. And those last basically the same way. It depends upon your city water quality and how many minerals are in that water, what we call total dissolved solvents. And those will determine how long the resin. Resin is made up of cation and anion. Basically all that is sand with a positive and negative charge. And as the water flows through the sand, it removes the minerals. So if you have a RO membrane before your DI resin, of course you're going to get a lot longer life because it's going to have a much lower TDS. But if you are using just deionization to filter the water, we've got a chart, if you haven't downloaded our Pure Water Manual, and that gives you a pretty good idea of how many gallons of pure water you can get out of your deionization based upon your total dissolved solvents and your city water. If you need to find your TDS for your city or your area, there's a really good website called zerowater.com. They're actually a company that makes under-the-counter or on-the-counter drinking water. Basically, you fill it up with your tap water, and it filters the water, and you can drink it. But they have a website that you can put in your zip code, and it uses figures based upon the city water and tells you what your total dissolved solvents are for your city. It's pretty accurate, we found. So, Jessica, that's how long filters last.
Okay. The next question is, do I have to buy filters from you, or can I buy filters locally?
Well, it depends upon the system that you buy. Some systems require that you purchase the filter from the manufacturer. In other words, they're custom made for their system. They have set up their system with the specs as well as the engineering that it requires their filters. Other systems are made where you can buy your own filters. Home Depot, Lowe's, or carry a couple different types of carbon sediment, sediment by itself or carbon, and that's a great place to pick up those filters. They'll fit your system. Also, DI resin can be bought. I've never seen it sold locally. I've always seen it on the internet. I've seen water stores like Culligan, but they did not sell resin, loose media. You can usually buy loose media in half cubic and 1 cubic foot portions, which is usually a bag, like a bag of 25 liters would be 1 cubic foot of resin. But they can be purchased online, or you can purchase those from your supplier.
Okay. Next question. What's the difference between systems with 1 RO and 2 RO?
Okay, like we said before, there are different systems out there. There are 3-stage, 4-stage, 5-stage. There are 2 popular sizes in RO membranes are 21-inch and 40-inch. Some systems use multiple 21-inch RO membranes in conjunction with one another. So they would have carbon sediment, then they would have maybe 2 21-inch RO membranes, and then they would have a polishing filter with DI resin. Other systems use a 40-inch, or what we call a 4x40, or a 40-inch RO membrane. The only difference is they both are the same size, but one is in 2 different housings. The main thing with an RO membrane is surface space. So a 4x40 has the same surface space as 2 20-inch RO membranes. So you're going to get the same results a lot of times for the purpose of the cart and transporting it, and space-wise, you may prefer the smaller membranes. So it's a personal preference, but the main thing is they both have the same surface space, which gives you the same result in filtering water.
All right. What's the difference between a 5,000 system and a 1,500 system?
I think that's about $3,500 to be exact. Well, different uses. Some of the 5-stage systems that are out there have electric pumps to boost the water pressure. They also have gauges. With an RO membrane, it's a lot of the systems will determine the upside of the membrane and the low side and gauge the pressure, especially when you're dealing with a half horsepower pump or even a gas pump. It's good to be able to control to know what your pressures are on your membranes and on your housings. They also will come with hose reels, with hose. So a lot of difference is what you get and what you need it for. Some companies need a large system to get their work done. They're running their system 7 days a week during the busy season with a couple of guys working. other companies that are 1 or 2 man operation who are doing residential just need a plug-and-play system. So a $1,500 unit will work great for them. It doesn't have the pumps and the gauges. It's just a simple system that plugs into the spigot, filters the water, and feeds it to the brush.
Okay. When do I need a pump?
Well, most city water is set, at least in the United States, most cities set the water pressure on homes at 40 psi. That seems to be the code for most areas, and most of the systems out there will work off of 40 pounds of pressure from the tap and will allow you to get a good flow at the brush to clean windows. Because an RO is a restrictor filter, you know, it does slow the water pressure down. So if you get on a job that has very low water pressure, or if you're working in an area where the water is really cold, a pump is nice because, number one, it will allow you to work at low water pressure. It basically will boost the water pressure coming out of the spigot, so that pushes it through the RO membrane and gives you better flow with the brush. But in most cases, you do not need a pump for one-man operation, you know, working on jobs with city pressure water.
Okay, next question. Do I need a pump with my tank?
With a DI tank?
Yes.
No, you do not. You do not need a pump with a DI tank because a DI tank is not a restrictor filter. The way it works is it is a catch filter. So it catches the minerals as the water passes through, so it does not restrict the water flow. So when you connect to the spigot, that water is not going to be restricted at all. So you don't need a pump for a deionization system.
Okay, next question. Can I reach 4 stories with a pure water system?
Yes, yes you can. That can be done. Most systems work fine without needing any booster pumps to reach 4 stories. Like I said, there will be some cases where you are going to have lower water pressure. So once you raise the pole up to 4 stories, that RO membrane is going to restrict the water enough to where you're not getting the proper gallons per minute at the brush. Now there is a system out that allows you to bypass the RO membrane and run just through the DI resin. And of course, like I said, the DI resin doesn't restrict. So in those cases, you could use the RO for the low windows and use just the deionization for the high windows.
Okay. Can I work with 2 poles?
Yes.
If so, what system do I need?
Okay. We've put together a really nice manual. If you haven't already downloaded our Pure Water Manual, please go to our website and download our Pure Water Manual. In that manual, we listed the Waterfed Poles as well as the Pure Water systems. And in each one of those, we rated those whether they can run 1 pole or 2 poles or 3 poles. So that's a great place to decide if you need a system that will run, you know, that you want to run 2 poles off of, or even 3, then you want to take a look at that manual and choose a system that's rated for 2 to 3 men.
Okay. My TDS is 450 ppm. What do I need?
That's very high. That would be, well, that would be considered medium or medium high on the scale. basically what parts per million is your total dissolved solvent. So an RO membrane will remove 98 to 99% in most cases. This is something we've learned this year too. In most cases, it will remove 98 to 99% of the total dissolved solvents out of the water. So if you're in an area with that high of TDS, then a 3 or 4 stage RO system would be the best choice for you. Now the way you have to look at it is, you're going, when you look to purchase a system, you have to decide how often are you going to be using the system, what are you going to be using it to do, and how cost effective it's going to be. So in a case like that, you could clean windows with deionization, and it would bring that water down to 0 TDS. But you would use so many ions per cleaning. So you would be changing your resin out quite often with that high TDS. But if you're only, if your company is only using the system a few times a year or once a month, then that may be a route to go. You just replace the resin. That's the cheapest way to go. If you're going to be using pure water on a regular basis, then you would want to invest. Like I said, it would be more costly initial investment, but in the long run, it would save you money. But you would want to invest in a 3 or 4 stage RO DI system with TDS at that high of a level. I think the rule is to make pure water. It costs, let's say at 440 TDS. To make pure water with deionization would cost you 12 to 15 cents per gallon. To make pure water with a RO system would cost you 2 to 3 cents a gallon. So it's cheaper, much cheaper to make pure water with an RO system. But there is a much higher initial investment when you purchase a RO system versus a deionization system.
Okay. What's the lightest, smallest system out there?
Well, of course, the deionization is the smallest. You can get just a DI housing with DI resin in it as small as 20 inches, 4 by 20 inches. You can get a half a cubic DI tank, which I think is 24 inches by 9 inches, which is very small and very light. I think the lightest and smallest of the RO systems that is portable would be the Hydro Tube. I think it weighs about 50 pounds and has a handle and 2 wheels. It's very easy to maneuver and lightweight.
All right. If I want to work from my pressure washing trailer, what do I need?
Okay, that's a good question because a lot of pressure washers clean windows. So if they're working off of a trailer, and most pressure washers that use a trailer, they have what they call a buffer tank, and then they have their hose reels and their pressure washer. So if you wanted to set up a pure water system using your existing trailer, you'll need a 3-way valve and a DI tank. If you're going to go with deionization, if you want to go with reverse osmosis, then you would need a 3 or 4. You need a 4-stage system that you could mount to the trailer, either portable that would fasten down, or one that you could take off and own, a cart. And you would need an extra hose reel with pure water hose. That way you have the option of using your existing hose that you're filling your buffer tank with, that you can divert with that three-way valve through your filter, whether it's deionization or whether it's an RO-DI system. And then it would go to the hose reel with the pure water, which would feed to your pole. So I've helped quite a few pressure washers convert their trailers over to pure water cleaning systems, and we're willing to help with that. We have everything you need to set that up. So that's the simplest, easiest way. There are some pressure washers that just buy a DI tank on wheels, or they buy a RO-DI cart on wheels, and they buy a water-fed pole and the hose, and they go with a on-demand system, just where they plug it into the spigot and hook up the pole and clean that way. So that's another option if you didn't want to tie your pressure washing trailer or van or truck, flatbed truck, into your pure water system. You could go with just the on-demand portable system.
Okay, great. All right, well, that's the end of our presentation. I want to thank everyone for watching and thank John Lee for being with us. All right, and that's the end of our webinar. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Jessica.